From the slopes of these majestic mountains, between Shasta in the north and High Sierra Peaks in the south, mighty rivers flowed unobstructed for many thousands of years, down the Central Valley, through the Delta, into the bay, and out to the sea. This immense watershed was all connected, in part, by these iconic fish.
One of the things that makes salmon such an important fish ecologically and I think also culturally is that because of their lifespan and their life cycle, they are literally forming a biological link between the oceans and the rivers. This bay and the watershed that supports it is actually unique in that it supports the greatest number of runs of Chinook salmon anywhere in the world.
Every winter, spring, and fall through the centuries, mature Chinook salmon by the hundreds of thousands migrated from the ocean through the bay and the delta up the rivers of their birth to spawn and die, while juvenile salmon in vast numbers worked their ways downstream in the opposite direction as the cycle of life continued year after year and amazed the people who witnessed it.
And other records talked about how when the salmon were up there spawning in the streams, the fish were so thick you could walk across the river on their backs and never get your feet wet.
As adult salmon brought nutrients from the sea, they fertilized riverside forests and provided food for many other animals, including us. But as more people began to transform the land and the rivers, salmon began to suffer.
And in recent years, the mid to late 2000s, their numbers have now fallen to record lows.
In the past century and a half, we've transformed the watershed in many ways, harming salmon and the ecosystem in the process. We've built dams to block salmon migration. We've diverted water from the rivers into canals to serve agriculture, leaving too little water in many places for salmon to spawn. We've polluted rivers and streams with pesticides and herbicides and chemicals from our homes and roads that affect the way salmon communicate and find their ways safely up and down the streams. We've removed natural forests and wetlands salmon need for shade, food, and refuge.
All of the signs that we're seeing from the salmon and the ecosystems that they depend on are that we're on a trajectory towards extinction for the fish and a trajectory towards possibly irreversible change and decline of our river ecosystems.
But fortunately, Dr. Tina Swanson, Executive Director of the Bay Institute, and her organization have been working hard to change this trajectory and give salmon and the entire ecosystem a new lease on life.
What we're trying to do is restore the balance between how we exploit the natural resources in the system that we all need, including water, and leaving enough in the system so that the ecosystem and all the creatures that depend upon it, which includes ultimately us, can live in a sustainable and a viable way. So salmon are for us the sort of iconic touchstone for our work. If we can do what needs to be done for salmon, we will have achieved our mission with regard to the rivers and the estuary.
To restore the balance for people and salmon and the ecosystem, the Bay Institute and its partners are working in many ways. They're helping bring the second longest river in California, the San Joaquin, back from the dead, so that people and salmon can regain a river that had been drained of its water for decades. They're also working to return water to half of the historic marshes that once ringed San Francisco Bay, so salmon and other threatened animals can be nurtured again as they were for thousands of years, and so that we people can have a natural buffer to protect us from the rising tides that are coming with climate change. There's much more to do before balance is finally restored, but with the will, we can find a way, and as salmon go, so will we all.
People take care of what they love. And so if we can help them love salmon and recognize that by loving salmon, they're loving everything else, that's a step in the right direction. It's very important that we're going to be able to show our children those salmon, and hopefully their children will see the salmon as well, because it means that we have been good stewards of the resources that we're blessed with.